Hello everyone, and welcome to my bold and the beautiful official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Bold and the beautiful spoilers for Monday, January 8 to 9, indicate that Luna Nozawa will question Poppy Nozawa about her date with Bill Spencer. Thus, Poppy could confess that everything went well, including a passionate kiss. But Poppy will definitely ask Luna about her own love life instead of downplaying her hopes of living a happily ever after with Bill. As it happens, Luna will be receiving an enigmatic invitation, so she will enlist Poppy's assistance in getting ready for a special supper. Naturally, Luna will believe that RJ Forrester is the one responsible for this impressive gesture, but she will be mistaken. Actually, this mysterious invite will be sent by Zende Forrester Dominguez, so B&B will lay the groundwork for further hostilities. After their subsequent arguments on Eric Forrester's John McCook last collection, Zende will find a means to avenge RJ in their private lives. Since Zende doesn't believe that RJ and Luna are serious about each other just yet, he'll use the anonymous dinner invitation as a ploy to get closer to her. In Zende's opinion, he's a better designer than Luna, not to mention a greater love interest, so he'll take a risk and hopefully succeed. According to more B&B teasers, Thomas Forrester will confront Steffi Forrester about John Finn Finnegan's interference and urge his sister to alter her viewpoint. While Steffi fears Hope Logan, Annika Noel, would shatter Thomas's heart and drive him back insane, Finn worries that Thomas may endanger Hope. Still, Thomas will make Steffi see that he and Hope might benefit much from their connection. Thomas is receiving his ideal woman, but Hope is getting a committed man who will never waver like Liam Spencer. From Thomas's perspective, there is nothing wrong with it, therefore he will present it as a win-win situation and persuade Steffi to agree. Thomas will be hoping that Steffi is open to changing her attitude. According to teasers for The Bold and the Beautiful, Steffi will probably keep worrying over potentially scary news, but at least she'll listen and cross her fingers. Spoilers for Strong and the Wonderful demonstrate that with Xander Avant back in the area, Thomas Forrester will be under extra strain. John Finn Finnegan was educated by Xander about Emma Stylist's passing and the way that he considers Thomas responsible for it. Finn is presently incapable to let it go, and apparently Xander is likewise reluctant to withdraw. Xander will get back to the strolling dead during the 7-day stretch of January 8 to 12. He will console Finn again that Thomas is blameworthy. It is attainable that Finn might contact Xander and demand consent to talk with him once more. Nonetheless, on the off chance that Xander finds another doctor at the clinic, Finn could run into him there. Regardless, as per B&B spoilers, Finn will get one more opportunity to address Xander with an end goal to become familiar with a smidgen more about the conditions. Normally, Steffi Forrester accepts that Xander is an unpleasant understudy with resentment. Steffi feels that in light of the fact that Xander and Emma were close, he's looking for somebody to fault, and given the occasions of the past, Thomas is a superb up-and-comer. However, Steffi has demanded that Emma's vehicle misfortune was only an appalling mishap. Considering that the police's examination upheld that hypothesis, it's justifiable why Steffi is supporting Thomas. On the other hand, Xander will illuminate Finn that the police committed an error. Xander basically states that Thomas is and consistently will be a beast when Finn squeezes him about Emma's fate. Finn might recognize that since Trust Logan has moved past her past with Thomas and sought after an adoration relationship with him, he stresses for her. That data could make Xander crazy and make him stress for Trust's security too. Xander might counter that Thomas is never more risky than when Trust has an impact in his obsession. Ultimately, Finn will inform Steffi concerning his concerns in the future and urge her to talk with Thomas about what really unfolded that night. Finn will urge Steffi to demand the total truth, since he will have a hard time believing they're hearing the entire story. Apparently, Steffi will urge Thomas to tell her his total record of what occurred, regardless of whether she will not be basically as severe as Finn. Exactly what amount of Thomas' admission from the evening of the debacle will be uncovered during their enthusiastic discussion. Will Steffi's viewpoint move subsequent to hearing Thomas? Remain tuned for refreshers on Thomas' perspective, as spoilers for the striking and the lovely demonstrate that a few unforeseen events are coming. Intense and the delightful recap. Friday, January 5. Thomas snoops on Finn advance notice trust. Edge's supplication to Brooke. The strong and the wonderful spoilers recap for Friday, January 5, uncovers that Steffi Forrester gave Thomas Forrester the report about Xander Avant springing up as John Finnegan's patient. Steffi cautioned that Xander blamed Thomas for causing Emma hairstylist's Niesiu's terrible result. However, she guaranteed Thomas that she had him covered and advised Finn to drop it. Despite the fact that Thomas had committed a few major errors, Steffi realized that Emma's end was a sad mishap and wasn't her siblings' issue. In Finn's office, Trust Logan, Annika Noel, asked why Xander was rocking the boat once more, so Finn thought about how conceivable it is that Xander's allegation was valid. Trust contended that Xander took his hypothesis to the police, however they cleared Thomas. All things considered, Finn was stressed since he minded over Trust and accepted she merited better. After Finn spouted over Trust's achievements and standards, he proposed that this diversion to Thomas simply wasn't her. Trust demanded she wasn't simply some paragon of temperance like Finn accepted as a result of her work at expectation for what's in store. As Thomas saw up outside out and tuned in, Trust discussed how Thomas advised her that she was likewise a lady. Finn felt like expectation was opposing the great young lady picture and all that occurred with Liam Spencer. At the point when it came to Thomas, Finn accepted he was simply let Trust know what she needed to hear. After Finn said Thomas could be answerable for Emma's inauspicious destiny, he added that Thomas was perilous and asked Desire to leave. When Trust left, Thomas went up against Finn over the discussion that he'd snooped on. After Thomas demanded he'd never harmed Trust, he cautioned that nobody planned to divide them. Back at Forrester Manifestations, Carter Walton and Brute Logan consoled Edge Forrester, who was as yet worried about Eric Forrester's recuperation and whether he'd be a similar man. After the conversation moved to Thomas, Carter took off and allowed Edge to talk with Brooke alone. Edge felt they ought to let Thomas and Trust have a relationship on the off chance that they needed one since they were adults. It wasn't so basic for Brooke, who contemplated whether Edge truly anticipated that she should set to the side every one of her reservations after all that Thomas had done before. Edge called attention to that Thomas had been behaving as well as possible of late. When Edge called Thomas a changed man, he demanded that his child was sufficient for Trust. After Edge imparted some affectionate minutes to Brooke and got some information about what he said, she affirmed she would and gave him an embrace. In the plan office, Trust displayed backup searching for Thomas and tracked down Steffi, all things being equal. That prompted Trust conceding Finn brought her to communicate worry over her relationship with Thomas. After Trust raised Xander's case, she guaranteed Steffi that she didn't trust it. Steffi was delighted to hear that and recommended that assuming these fraudulent complaints emerged, Thomas planned to require somebody to rest on. Steffi pushed Desire to either be as far as possible in or completely out, so Trust streaked back to Thomas proposing and looked contemplative. After Steffi said Thomas required somebody who'd show up for him, she felt it was the least he merited after everything he'd done on himself. Back in Finn's office on Friday's B&B episode, Thomas hyped how he was restored and needed no difficulty. When Thomas cautioned Finn not to place himself in that frame of mind of his relationship with Trust, Finn felt that seemed like a danger. Finn yelled about Thomas being perilous and asked Thomas to uncover what truly happened that evening with Emma. Be that as it may, Thomas cautioned Finn not to screw with his family or his existence with Trust. Finn considered what Finn would do in the event that he didn't tune in and snidely inquired as to whether Thomas would drive him off a bluff as well. Despite the fact that every other person had purchased Thomas Better Than Ever act, Finn saw directly through him and realized he was a terrible individual. However long Finn poured a ton of time and energy into, he'd promised that Thomas could never accompany Trust. The intense and the wonderful spoilers say Thomas and Finn's quarrel will prompt more issues, so remain tuned for refreshers on all the disorder that is fermenting. Thanks for watching if you like this video, so please don't forget to subscribe my channel and don't miss any update.